There's a reason this video makes you slightly uncomfortable, and it's not because of Mike Tyson, or billionaires, or celebrities who went broke. It's because deep down, you already suspect this might apply to you. Not today, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly. The kind of financial failure that doesn't look like disaster, just years of earning more, stressing more, and still feeling behind. Here, said the scary part. Most people who end up financially stuck didn't make one big mistake. They did everything right. Good income, reasonable decisions, no reckless gambling. And yet money keeps slipping through their fingers. Not because they're irresponsible, but because there's something about how money really works that no one warns you about. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because if earning more was the solution, you wouldn't still feel this uneasy about your future. Most people don't realize how much of their financial confidence is built on a story they tell themselves. A story where effort equals outcome. Where discipline guarantees security. Or if something goes wrong, it must be because someone made a bad choice. That story feels comforting because it implies control. But the uncomfortable truth is this. A huge part of where you end up financially has nothing to do with how smart you are, how hard you work, or how carefully you plan. Timing decides more than talent. Circumstances matter more than intention. Two people can make nearly identical decisions and end up in completely different places, and the difference won't be visible until years later. One gets the right opportunity at the right moment. The other doesn't. One avoids a major setback by pure chance. The other gets hit by something they couldn't have predicted or prevented. And the scariest part that this happens is that we pretend it doesn't. We look at people who succeeded and reverse engineer their choices as if the outcome was inevitable, ignoring the randomness that made those choices work. We do the same with failure, assuming it was deserved, avoidable, logical. But life doesn't grade fairly. Markets don't reward effort. And money doesn't care how responsible you've been. This isn't meant to make you cynical, it's meant to make you aware. Because once you accept that control is limited, you stop building your financial life on fragile assumptions. You stop assuming tomorrow will cooperate. You stop believing that doing everything right guarantees safety, and that realization is uncomfortable. Because it forces you to admit that security doesn't come from confidence. It comes from preparation for things you don't see coming. And once you accept how much is outside your control, a more dangerous question appears. Why do so many people still lose everything after they've already won? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear at the right time. The exact traits that helped you make money can become the reason you lose it. Getting rich rewards boldness, confidence, the willingness to move fast, take risks, and ignore doubt. But staying rich punishes those same instincts. And that's where people get blindsided because nothing feels wrong while it's happening. Success trains you to trust yourself more, to believe your judgment is proven, to assume momentum will continue. When money starts coming in consistently, it stops feeling fragile and starts feeling permanent. Expenses quietly rise to meet income. Risk stops feeling risky. Leverage feels like efficiency, not danger. You don't wake up reckless, you just wake up slightly more comfortable taking chances you wouldn't have taken before. And this is where things quietly turn, because while you're still playing offense, pushing, expanding, reaching your margin for error is shrinking. One decision matters more than it used to. One assumption carries more weight. One unexpected hit can undo years of progress. It's not because you suddenly became careless, but because success convinced you that you were safer than you actually were. This is why so many people lose money after they've already won. They keep playing the same aggressive game, unaware that the rules have changed. Let's contrast that with people who stay wealthy for decades. Their goal isn't to impress, it's to survive. They treat survival as a strategy. They don't chase excitement because they understand something most people don't. Excitement is usually paid for later. Boring, on the other hand, compounds quietly. It doesn't signal status. It doesn't satisfy ego. And that's exactly why it works. Boring decisions don't make you feel smart, but they keep you in the game. This is why sudden wealth is so dangerous. People think the hardest part is over, when in reality a new, more subtle challenge has just begun. A challenge of restraint, of humility, knowing when the smartest move is to stop proving yourself. Because real financial security isn't about making money, once it's about not giving it back. And the people who understand that aren't the boldest in the room. They're the ones who last. But here's the twist. Some people protect their money perfectly and still use it in a way that keeps them anxious. Which raises the real question, what is wealth actually for? Most people misunderstand saving because they think it's about future spending nicer things, better experiences, delayed rewards. But saving isn't about what you'll buy later. It's about how much control you have right now. Because the absence of savings doesn't just limit your options, it quietly decides them for you. When you don't have a financial buffer, your life shrinks. You tolerate things you shouldn't. You stay in situations longer than you want to. It's not because you lack ambition or discipline, but because autonomy requires margin. That's why someone can hate their job and still show up every day, telling themselves they'll leave soon while knowing they won't. They're not lazy, they're trapped. Compare that to someone who built even a modest cushion. When their environment turns toxic, they move differently. Their posture changes, their voice steadies. They don't negotiate from desperation, they decide from calm. That shift is invisible, but it's powerful. Saving doesn't look impressive, and that's why most people avoid it. No one applauds restraint. No one celebrates the money you didn't spend. Spending gives instant validation. Saving gives silent security. And silent security doesn't show up on social media, but it quietly changes how you live. You don't need millions to feel this shift. Even a few months of expenses can transform fear into choice. Yet most people never experience that relief because spending feels like progress, while saving feels like delay. But the people who understand money differently play a different game. They choose stability over status, flexibility over appearances. They don't chase admiration, they build independence. And over time, that independence compounds into something far more valuable than luxury. The ability to walk away, to say no, to breathe. That's the real purpose of this, not wealth for display, but wealth for freedom. And here is the paradox: some of the most financially secure people you'll ever encounter don't look wealthy at all. In fact, you probably wouldn't notice them. One of the most dangerous financial illusions isn't believing that appearances equal wealthy, as assuming they harmless. Because chasing the look of success doesn't just mislead you, it slowly trains you to ignore real risk. We see expensive cars, upgraded homes, polished lifestyles, and subconsciously associate them with security, even though all they actually prove is spending. Real wealth is rarely visible. It's the money left untouched. It's the margin you don't talk about. The flexibility no one claps for. And this is where people quietly lose. As income rises, lifestyles stretch to match it, not in one dramatic leap, but through small justifications that feel reasonable at the time. We deserve this now. This upgrade won't really change anything. We're still being responsible. And without noticing, future freedom gets traded for present comfort. The tragedy isn't that people earn more and still feel stressed, as that they don't realize the stress is self-created. Because money decisions are almost never logical in the moment. They're emotional reactions to uncertainty, comparison, and fear. People don't panic because numbers change. They panic because control feels fragile. That's why perfectly rational plans fall apart when risk shows up. This is where understanding luck and unpredictability matters. You can control every outcome, but you can control how exposed you are when things don't go your way. That's why being reasonable beats being optimal. A plan that survives fear will outperform a perfect plan you abandon. Consistency beats optimization. Action beats perfection. Calm beats complexity. The people who win with money aren't the smartest or the boldest. They are the most emotionally disciplined. They build systems that work with human behavior instead of fighting it. Because in the end, money isn't about what you earn, invest, or display. It's about how you respond when reality doesn't cooperate, and it never fully does. If this made you rethink even one quiet habit, don't rush to change everything. Just notice the next decision you justify, and ask what it's really costing you over time.